Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Greg and in today's project video, I'm going to be making a set of 4 awards. We're going to be following the process of just one of the awards because obviously the other 3 awards are going to follow the same process. Let's get started by checking out the materials and the machine for today's project video. The wood material that I'll be using is going to be some 3/8 inch thick pine board. That's 5.5 inches wide and 11 inches long. I'll be using 3 pieces total. I'll glue everything up using a 2-part 5-minute epoxy. I like to use this because it dries pretty quickly, but it still gives me 5 minutes to adjust any of the pieces to get them in perfect alignment. I'll finish the project with a high-quality spray polyurethane. I'll apply several coats to all surfaces of the awards. The machine I'm using is going to be the Monport Reno 45-watt CO2 laser machine. It's fast and it's accurate. We're now ready to jump into the computer and check out the graphics that I'll be using, along with the settings that I'll be using for both engraving and cutting for today's projects. Let's hop to it. I'll be using Lightburn software and I'm on version 1.703. And here's all my layout diagrams off to the side here, the 4 awards with the 4 base plates. We're going to see that I've got 2 little teeth hanging down from the awards, and that is going to correspond with 2 holes that are being cut in the award. For that to be inserted, that's where I'm going to be using that 2-part epoxy. Across the front of each of the base plates is going to be the name of the award for this winter fat bike race. They're only doing the first place award for each of the 4 different categories. And the graphic was supplied to me by the race committee. I think if you've watched this channel before, you've seen me engrave and cut this out, and I was actually doing some practice cutting and engraving in those videos in preparation for making these awards. The basic layout that I have for this is I drew my work material. This is on a tool layer so it won't cut or engrave, and this is going to be that 5.5 inch width by being 11 inches long. When I zoom in a little bit more, maybe on these bottom 2, this tooth that I cut, when I drew the width of that, I made the width of this cutout the same. Now the height of this box is going to be the thickness of the material. That's going to be about 3/8 of an inch. It's really just that easy. And I found that I pretty much make this cutout the size of the tooth that goes into it. Certainly different materials are going to cut a little bit differently, so I might need to shrink this down or expand that out a little bit. There's certainly a kerf tool within the Lightburn software. That kerf tool is going to be the width of the laser cut of the machine. That starts to get a little bit more complicated, and I just like to keep things simple, and because this is wood, if it's just a little bit too tight, I can grab a little bit of sandpaper and just shave off a little bit of that thickness, ensuring that it fits into the base plate. Now let's take a look at the engraving and cut layer settings. I'll double click on the blue layer for my engraving. I'll be running a speed of 575 millimeters per second with a power level of 53%. 1 pass is all that's needed, and my lines per inch is going to be essentially at 300. Switching over to the cutout, that will be the red layer. I'll double click on that. A speed of 10 millimeters per second with a power level of 65%, and I'll be doing 2 passes for this. Yeah, I think that's everything. I'm now ready to take the first piece of wood material, get that set up inside of the machine, and set the focus. When I load the material in, I can get that set up in there. I think that's where I'd like it to be. And I'm going to take this red plunger down, and this is how I'm going to set the perfect focus. I've got the tool that comes with the machine that goes into this turn knob over to the side. Now I just raise the work bed into the material until that red plunger pops all the way up. That looks good. And now I can use the keypad and manually move the laser back and forth and I'm going to put it in this back corner and then zip it across the workpiece to make sure that it is perfectly lined up. That looks good, and I'll get that laser out of the way. I'm going to take some red magnets now and use that to secure the work material in place. I'll put a magnet on each of the 4 sides, and now of course I could fit 2 of these boards in here at the same time, but there's something really neat that I want to show you a little bit later on in the video. I'm going to move that laser head so it is back in that upper left-hand corner. Here's a close-up of what everything looks like. The red focus assist on that laser head, I think that has to be my favorite feature on the Reno series laser machines. Now let's jump back into the Lightburn software and check out how I align my graphic up to the work material inside the machine. As we just saw, we know that I've got the laser head positioned over the work material for the start point, and to know where that start point is in the work area, I move over to the Move tab, and I'm going to click on Get Position, and that is going to pop up a little crosshairs. That is the actual position of the laser head inside the machine. If yours doesn't show up, just click on this button here, Show Last Position, meaning the laser head, and now I can grab this entire first graphic here, and I'll get it nestled right up to that corner. That looks good. And from here, I can hit the frame button and just lean over and watch the machine and make sure that the laser head is always tracking over the material, which it is. And from here, I'm ready to tune in some nice relaxing background music. I'll get the air purifier turned on. I've already got the water chiller running, and we're ready to hit the start button. The first set of 2 are complete, and let's do a quick check on these. Oh, perfectly cut out. Look at that. 2 identical, perfectly engraved wooden awards. Now looping back to why I was only doing 1 board at a time and these red magnets that I have placed in there, and that's because it's going to allow me to easily put the wooden blank for the next 2 awards in there. I can close the lid, and I don't have to go back to the computer and resend the same program out to the machine. That program is now stored in this controller, so to run this next set of 2, all I need to do is hit the start button, and the machine will run another 2 awards. Pretty cool. Second batch is all complete, and let's check these out. This one's stuck just a tiny little bit, but we've got another 2 identical awards. Next, I'm going to load in the 3rd and final blank. We'll head back into Lightburn and check out the graphic placement for making the bases for all 4 of these awards. That 3rd and final wood blank is loaded into the machine, and now we just need to cut out a couple base plates. I'll select everything in the work area here and move it off to the side, and I'm going to grab everything for the base plates and move that into the work area. I'm going to zoom in, and I have that laser position crosshair exactly on that corner of that work material, and now I can grab this whole graphic here just by the corner here, and I'll put that right up to the laser head crosshairs. That is going to be plenty close enough. And now I know that the graphic is lined up to the work material inside of the machine. It's just that quick and easy. When we check this out, we're going to see that I've got a couple weird extra lines in here. Of course, I've got the red cutout line, the 2 holes for the teeth of the awards, and then the engraving for the name of the award. I also have this lighter blue line going all the way across, and then a lighter blue line vertical. That is going to be the tool layer number 2. Once again, tool layers don't engrave or cut, but I use them for layouts, which is very specifically what tool layers are for. I put this tool layer line across so that I had the midpoint of the height of this base, and then that way I could get everything perfectly centered up. Now in between these 2 holes for the teeth, I drew this vertical line so that I could get the correct placement for the text so that it is on the center line of the base plate. Pretty straightforward, but pretty handy to use those tool layers to get correct alignment on all 4 of the base plates. From here, once again, all I need to do is turn on the exhaust filter and get some nice music in the background, and we'll catch a couple screenshots or video clips of the base plates being made. All the bases are cut, and let's check those out. Everything cut out very cleanly, including all the little holes for all of the teeth. And let's see if that fits in there. I do want them snug, and wow, that is a perfect fit. Grab this next piece. Now these were cut from the same board, so let's check out this third one real quick, because this might be a little bit different thickness, and it fits in there a little bit easier, but still nice and snug. And there's the fourth one. We've got that one in the frame as well. Before I move to the glue up part of this project, I am going to clean up some of the smoke residue from the engraving. For that, I'm going to go to my old trusty standby, and that is some LA's Totally Awesome. I get this at the Dollar Tree. It's the cheapest place where I've been able to find it. And this stuff just melts away all of that smoke residue. What I'll do is I'll spray and saturate the entire surface down, rub it with my fingers, and immediately rinse it off with some warm water, and immediately have a nice dry towel to dab all of the moisture off of the work materials. I'm going to do that off camera and allow the wood to fully dry before returning back to do the glue up. Well, before I clean this up, we probably want to check these out up close. So here is the pre-assembled award without any glue on it. We take a look at this top part. I'll get this position and we can check it out. Look at all of that clean, crisp detail. Everything is exactly as it should be. I'll pull the base off and we'll check out the cut line. That's all the way around. When I rub my finger on that, there's no charring on it. So even though it's discolored a little bit, I mean, it's going to, we're cutting it out with a nice laser machine, but there's no black charring on it. This all looks good, including the back side. There's no flame out, and that's due to the honeycomb that is included with the machine. We'll check out the base plate here, get that nice and close. Even though the text is nice and small, I have this clean, legible text. The rest of this looks very clean, and just like on the top part of the award, there's no charring, none of that black soot. This is all real nice, but once again, I'm still gonna give this a wipe down so I don't have any of that smoke residue on any of these surfaces. And I'll catch back up when we're ready to start doing the glue up of the awards. The award pieces are all cleaned up and they look absolutely perfect. Next up, it's time to mix up some 5-minute epoxy and get all of these glued up. Using the glue is pretty straightforward, but over the years I've got a couple tips that I'd like to share with you. One is mixing the glue up on a porous surface like this cardboard really doesn't yield the best results. So for that, I like to take some packaging tape and I'm going to take off a couple strips and put that down, and that is what I'm going to be using to mix up the glue on. And once I have the two pieces glued together, to make sure that the glue doesn't seep through the bottom, I'm going to pull out one more strip of the tape and put that across. I'll set the pieces on top of that so they don't stick to the cardboard. Oh, that's loud. That all looks good, and from here it's just business as usual with 2-part epoxy glue. So from here I've got just a couple minutes. I'm actually going to apply the glue just on the inside of these holes. That way none of it gets on the top surface. That looks good, and I'll just assemble this. That looks good. A little bit came out of the bottom, and that's why I've got the tape there so it doesn't stick down to the cardboard. I'll just repeat this for the other 3 awards. The last tip that I have for the epoxy glue is related to the setup time. It initially sets, of course, in 5 minutes, just like it's advertised. However, I like to give it a full 45 minutes at least to get a nice good set on that glue before I start handling the awards. While the glue is setting, I did think about the polyurethane spray I was going to use, but this video is being recorded in January and it's only 2 degrees outside, and when I use this stuff, I exhaust all the fumes outside, which means I'm going to pump a lot of the warm air in the shop outside, which I really don't want to do. So instead, I'm going to use a water-based sanding sealer. Not really meant as a finish, but I think it looks great. I'll be applying 2 coats to all of the awards. It's been a little bit of time and I had a chance to eat some lunch, and before I check the glue on the awards, I always like to check the mixing stick. That's always a good indication if the glue is set, and yep, that has definitely set. I'll check one of these out. And I can hear that this actually stuck down. There we go. And that's why I put that tape down. Everything looks good. Yep, that one stuck down. This one I already checked, and the back one. Yep. Everything looks good, and I also mixed up the sanding sealer, and I can take some brushes and apply a couple coats to this first piece, and I'll show you what it looks like with the sanding sealer on next to one that has not been coated. So I'll catch up with you in a few minutes. This award doesn't have any of the sanding sealer on it. When we take a look at the one next to it, this has 2 coats on it, and both of them side by side, we can clearly see the one with the sanding sealer, that wood grain pops out quite a bit more. All the awards are complete and they look absolutely phenomenal. Let's check out this first one so we can check out all of the amazing detail. Well, I certainly hope that the camera is able to pick up all the detail on this award because it's really amazing. Around the outside perimeter, I have the engraving reveals all of this nice wood grain underneath. Across the bottom, I have solid filled in letters, and I have all of the detail that I need. Across the top, I have outlines of letters, which sometimes can be hard for a laser machine, but the Reno 45 had no problems. The last thing I want to check out is the graphic in the center, specifically the antenna on this mosquito. Fuzzy little antennas, and I've got all of the detail captured with the laser engraving, all while being able to cut through some 3/8 solid pine board. Making these projects was a blast, and I hope that you enjoyed it too and kind of learned some tips and tricks along the way, along with being able to check out the Reno Pro 45. Join me in upcoming videos where I'll be taking a look at specifically the controller display. There's a ton of cool features in there, and that warrants its very own video. Also in the works is we're working on getting a Reno 65 Pro machine in. That way you'll be able to see the Reno Pro 45 watt machine right next to its counterpart, the 65 watt version. That's going to be a pretty interesting video. Be sure to join back up to check that out. Don't forget to show this video some love by giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Not only is it a great way to help the laser channel grow, it's an awesome way to connect video content like this with other great viewers just like you. Well, until we meet again in the next video, learn, create, and share.